exciting. Today we are covering video game adaptations turned into movies and how horrible they tend to be for the most part.
I kind of did a little bit of research, and there are a few things I saw that were like, oh, that turned out pretty good.
Yeah, right. Honestly, very few. And one of those ones that I feel like is very debatable for modern day. Like, there's some people I've met who are like, I kind of liked it. I went and saw it myself in theaters. Was Assassin's Creed. I honestly just don't like the way they went with it. They had so much source material to use, and I understand it's hard to adapt that directly into a movie, but I think it could have been done a lot better.
Yeah, I think of all the franchises out there, Assassin's Creed is kind of an awkward one to dive into because it's not. I'd say it's probably in the top 10 of like most recognizable games and games that like come out every year or every 2 years that people are familiar with. But like, it kind of surprises me that like Call of Duty hasn't come out with a movie or a TV show. It's war. It's like it's an easy concept to build around. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird how that's one of the few franchises that have yet to dive into the film industry.
Well, so to play a little devil's advocate, at least in my perspective of why they haven't, I'd say it's because like the whole cinematic world where all those movies lie, there's already a lot of war movies, and there's already a lot of crazy stories that can be told out of real World War II. And I feel like a lot of these game developers, like for example, like they went and they made like animated Halo movies and stuff like that. So because that has more of a suspension of disbelief, and I think that's like another thing. Maybe they try to just avoid war, like historians, like history buffs, just being like, well, that's inaccurate. What are you making? Like, you're making garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And without realizing they're catering to an audience that's not just war related. Oh, pardon. Where did that come from?
Drinking water.
I didn't even have any. Now I will. He just dies.
Yeah. Speaking of that, holy shit! Today I had to go to a clinic and get like blood work done and stuff because Mandy and I are getting set up with like life insurance or whatever. So, and because I haven't got a physical in like 2 or 3 years, they're like, "Oh, we need you to come in and like update your shit." So I'm like, okay, whatever. So that's what I was doing this afternoon. And since I got blood work done, I had to fast for 6 to 8 hours before. And it was scheduled for 1:30 in the afternoon. So I just put food in my body like a half hour ago. So it was probably like 16, 17 hours since I had ate. And then I just gave blood. They took 2 tubes of blood out of me. And I was like on my way home from the clinic. And I'm just like, oh fuck! Don't pass out right now. like it wasn't that bad, but I could tell I was a little lightheaded. And plus, that's the second time in my life I've ever given blood. So
well, and it's funny that you tell me that because like, that's not to deviate from our topic here, but so I just had to get blood drawn the other day, and they took like 5 tubes because it was for all these labs. And then I had my acting class, which, holy crap, acting is weird. Acting is weird for me because it's going out of my comfort zone. It's not where my comfort usually lies. I had to do a monologue, and I just had my blood, like, you know, having all this blood drawn. I get back, and we have to be standing for this, and I get ready to go do it. Forgot everything I memorized. Completely forgot everything. And I'm just sitting there staring at, like, the class and, like, the professor on, like, because we're doing this all online, which is interesting. But I'm just sitting there staring at it, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I don't remember. And I just sat down and I just read through the book, and I was like, I need another day to redo this. I can't remember anything because they literally just took it all out of me. And I almost fainted as soon as like, I didn't mention that to any of them. So if any of them end up tuning into this eventually, they'll be like, oh, yeah, no, because I got ready. I got a little nervous. I locked my legs, and I was like, wow, that feels weird. I'm starting to see, like, you know, you start to see the little specks everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was scary for me as I was driving a vehicle. Like I live on the north side of town, and this clinic was on the south side of town. And it was probably like a 10, 15-minute drive to get back up. And I'm just like, going through like the city, stoplights, like there's vehicles all around me. I'm like, fuck, if I black out right now, this is not going to be good. So,
Oh, jeez, that would be. I don't know if I've ever experienced that. That'd be weird though. Imagine just going down the road and you just see some dude passed out in his car.
yeah.
Hey, buddy, you okay? Just give blood.
My glass.
Watch the like you get a car accident because you pass out, and they use the blood that you like donated or gave to put back into you for a blood transfusion. It just goes full circle.
What was the name of the clinic you're at? Okay, we'll be right back. They burst out the door. Hey, that blood you just took from this guy. Yeah, we need that back right now.
Yeah, we need that right now.
Shit. Anywho, back on topic.
Yeah. Anyway, so I can just list a bunch of random horrible movies real quick. Well, actually, I can only think of one really horrible one that came back like a while ago, which is Super Mario Bros. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
I didn't personally see it, but when I was kind of doing some research and looking around at movies, I saw that come up, and I'm like, how come I've never heard of this before? I've never seen it.
There's a very good reason why.
Yeah, and then I looked into it. It had like a 1.2 star rating, and like just it was like horrible on Rotten Tomatoes and all this and that. I'm like, that's why I haven't heard of it. So
well, and this is like a subject that's always been like that's just been around almost as long as gaming has, since they started making movies based off gaming. It's like, why do gaming movies fail? Like, what is it they're missing? What is the key element they're missing? And honestly, the biggest issue is because I don't think a lot of people understand the transition from a video game to a cinematic environment. Like, yeah, if you make a whole animated movie, that's different. That can work a lot better than a live action movie can, because there's a lot more of that creative independence that you don't rely on certain. It's all drawing. You're drawing most of it, and a lot of that's kind of how video games are drawn up too. It's drawn concepts that they can sit there and they digitalize and they edit it. It's a lot easier than making a live action movie with live actors who, if they fail to portray that character, which I'm going to give a positive shout out here, The Witcher. Amazing show. I love it. I think they're doing great with it. I'm sure there's some fans out there who may hate it, but The Witcher hasn't failed yet. Like, have you noticed that? Like, the books were popular, the game's popular, the movies or the show part is popular. Like, it's like the one weird like unicorn that is just able to be in every kind of category. But so they figured it out. They got a good system figured out with it. But again, The Witcher is also such an expanded universe. There's so many stories to be told in that, which could be said of like Elder Scrolls. Like, why is there not an Elder Scrolls movie? Why? And it all comes down to it's because I think either some of these companies, they see the history of how video game movies do and they get nervous about the idea of that, and or they hire on some very smart, creative people, but they let their creativity get them too far away from the source material. And they create this thing that's just atrocious to watch once it actually hits screen. Because it's got to be something that appeals to almost everybody, and especially if you're making it based off of a video game. Like, come on.
Like, the most important audience to tailor to is the audience from that video game. Like, that's your number one audience right there. Like, some person is not going to see The Witcher or Resident Evil or Silent Hill, like any of those games that pop up into movies. They're going to look at it and be like, oh, what's this? And then like after the fact, they realize that it deviated from a video game. But like you said, I jotted down some notes as to why I guess I've personally disliked video game movies. One being that I feel like people just have a high expectation and they don't take them seriously right off the bat. Yep. Because it's like, okay, this is a video game. Who are the actors going to be? Are they going to... And that's the thing too, is which is especially hard. If the movie sticks to the story of the video game to a T, doesn't change a single line,
well, then it's boring.
Then it's boring. You're losing people. Yeah. But then if you change too much, it's okay. What the heck? This isn't a movie about such and such anymore. So I feel like that's the biggest part right there is either there's not enough change or there's too much change, and often I feel like it's too much change. I've never seen a movie from a deviated from a video game that I'm like, whoa, that was super accurate, like to the video game story, and like that's never been a reason why I haven't liked one of those movies. It's usually because they take away too much from, or they go away from the story too much. And the other thing too is I think it's a big part of it is due to the actors and actresses that they have. They're all below level actors and actresses. Like you never see a big name person. Oh, with Halo's coming out with a movie. George Clooney is Master Chief. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
Well,
know,
I do want to play devil's advocate because in Assassin's Creed we have Michael Fassbender, who is a very well known actor, amazing actor, and I love him as an actor. He's the one who plays young Magneto in the new X-Men
okay.
series and all that. Like, he is a good actor. He knows what he's doing, but I just didn't like the creative direction. I think that was like where a lot of it fell short. Was the creative, but for yes, in a lot of these other movies, it is actors that we don't know. Like, especially if you look back through when video games first started to get converted into movies, was such a shit show of a nightmare. Like, falling back to like Mario, I believe there was a Duke Nukem movie made. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look that one up. But yeah, no. So that is definitely a part of.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there hasn't been any video game movies
Oh,
that
okay, no.
haven't had, like, Norman Reedus is tied to the Silent Hill series a little bit, especially with like the new. And I'm upset that they never finished it. Was the playable teaser? Um, yeah, or I don't know if you've ever played that or seen gameplay on it, but it's essentially
Silent Hill.
the playable teaser for Silent Hill. Like,
Oh no.
it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's essentially it's a horror game. Like, there's some messed up shit in it, but like it's only a couple hours of gameplay, and then like it ends. There's a cutscene with Norman Reedus in it, and then basically it's like, oh, this is still in development, and they haven't proceeded on it any farther. And then after a few months or whatever, they basically threw that out the window and said, yeah, we're not going to finish it. But there were so many people who played it and loved it, so it's just like. And that kind of deviates away from the movies topic, but I was just basically listing an example of another movie that has a big name tied to it with Norman Reedus, how they kind of brought him into the playable teaser, that they could utilize him in the film industry side of things, because from The Walking Dead, Norman Reedus is basically that's the series that put him on the map. Yeah, he's been in things before and after that, but that's essentially his biggest moment in film.
Well, he also is. I think it's called Death Standing. It's a video game. They used him. He's the base model for their character. I'm pretty sure. I haven't played the game yet. I heard it's
It
weird.
looks really good.
It looks good. It looks
As
weird.
far as like the graphics and like I guess the
Did it even come out yet, or is that like I don't even know if that actually came. Yeah, it's been out, right?
Yeah, it's been out for probably almost a year. Honestly, it's been around long enough.
Yeah, no, and it's got a rating 9 out of 10. I think this might be the next side venture I take to play a video game, kind of out of my realm, just because I want to check it out.
What's it called again? Death Standing?
Yep, Death Stranding. Pardon. Death Stranding.
Okay.
Oh, and also, to correct my wording earlier, there was a movie that was put into development for Duke Nukem in the 90s that never came to fruition. I saw something on IMDb about in development with John Cena attached. I'm not 100% on that. That's just what I saw on IMDb. If that's a thing, I wonder how they're going to handle that. I would love to see it. But
I could see John Cena playing a good Duke Nukem.
oh yeah, he's hilarious, and I love to see more of these guys go from their redneck anime days, fucking WWE, to video games. Because I'm sure every person, not every person, but a lot of people who grew up in it are guilty of it. We were all WWE fans at some point, even if it was for 5 minutes in our age group, especially, and just so I think everyone loved to see.
Hey, you cut out.
This whole conversion from movies or video games to movies. We see television shows and movies converted into video games as well. And
Okay.
it's cool to see how those actually seem to work better. Like when they take a show or a movie and they convert it into it, like The Walking Dead. There's Walking Dead, the Telltale series. There's that one Walking Dead game that just can't had come out or is coming out. I don't know. I don't really play Walking Dead stuff, so I kind of like dropped off that franchise like a couple seasons ago, and I don't even pay attention to anything with it. But yeah, it's cool to see how it converts back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got into like the video game side of things, like that whole Telltale series of choose option A, B, or C, and then this is your consequence, and then like this is how your story plays out. Like it's not really like a walkthrough. You're not controlling a character really. You're just like laying out these sequences that you're basically playing out their life for them, but it's just pushing a button on a controller and watching it play out through a cutscene essentially. And it's like I can see how that can be enjoyable for some people. Like I know Lake plays them and he talks highly of them, but also everybody has a different like enjoys games differently,
Yeah.
different genres. So I can't be like, oh, this is stupid, this is a dumb idea, because obviously people buy it and play it. So it's just not my cup of tea, so to say. But
Exactly, and it's like I'd consider them not so much as video games for the most part, as more of interactive stories. They are video games by design; they're video games, but they're more like an interactive book that's like or a story, interactive story. Period. It's cool because your decisions in them, I play a little bit of them, do affect how overall the story can go. I haven't played the Walking Dead ones. I played what the hell is it called? I played it's like a demo for some kind of like fairy tale thing. You play as like the big bad wolf. He's a detective. I can't remember what the. I will remember this and I will mention it in a later podcast because the Wolf Among Us, something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but either way. But yeah, no, and that just talks on to the level of how diverse video games are and like what is considered a video game. There are so many. Like if you think about the original video games, it was literally just like a dot just going. Like,
yeah,
like that's not that entertaining. Or like even just clicking one button can be considered a video game, which is in a lot of ways what those video games have become. But they put a creative twist into it. Oh, and then yeah, no, it's just cool to see how games expand and they try to reach out into these other markets. But yeah, it keeps consistently kind of like for the most part failing. I didn't see Warcraft. I know they made a World of Warcraft movie. I didn't see it. I didn't check out the reviews. I don't know if you saw anything about it. I'll pull it up if you haven't, because I know that's a very big gaming.
Yeah, I've seen good things. I haven't personally seen it. I kind of looked at like some trailers and like reviews and some like basically some like cliff notes of the plot and stuff, and it looked like a good movie. I mean, that's another one of those ones where I like when there was trailers and stuff for it. I saw it. I knew it existed. But yet I didn't go out of my way to see it. But also that's due to the fact that I'm not a part of the like World of Warcraft community. That's not a game that I don't think I've ever played it, honestly. And which again, that's another genre of game that I've never dove into. And
well, so here's an interesting breakdown of the percentages. So on IMDb, it's a 6.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 28%. Metacritic, it's 32%, and then it says 86% like this movie out of Google users. So it's like, it's kind of like it's all across the board with that one. I'm assuming it wasn't a commercial success when it hit theaters, obviously, but it probably at least did okay. I don't want to get into the numbers, but because that's not what we're doing right now. We're not breaking down the actual numbers of how much this movie made and this made based off being a video game movie. Just the general consensus is they all suck for the most part.
Yeah.
The average idea is that there's not a really good video game movie, and we're just kind of getting to the root of why.
Yeah, a couple I wanted to bring up, and they're more recent movies, and they kind of they have actors in them that are well known. One being the new Sonic movie, where Jim Carrey is like the villain doctor. I can't remember it's Doctor something. I can't remember his name. Starts with an R, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. And the other one is
Robotnik.
yeah. the other one is Detective Pikachu, where Ryan Reynolds plays Pikachu. So like those are two games deviated off of video, or those are two movies deviated off of video games, um, that have big name actors. And again, from what I've seen, the Sonic movie wasn't that good. I mean, even before,
63% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 1.5 out of 5 on IndieWire, and that was a whole mess. Like that was a whole animation mess. We'll get into that later, though. You continue. Sorry.
yeah, no, I was just about to go into that with how they like released what Sonic was going to look like, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? This it looks like he's on crack, or like he just doesn't look right." And did they end up changing him, or did they?
Yes, they did. They listened. They listened, and they completely made him. They edited him. They actually put the company. I'm pretty sure it put the animation company, or I won't say that's the exact direct reason, because I think this is also the same company that made the movie Cats, which was also a commercial failure. Drastic.
Oh gosh, dude.
Yeah. So like no, their studio went under. I'm pretty sure. I think not their whole business, but I think this is the studio that worked on those two movies specifically went under. I'd have to fact check that. So I'm just going off things I've heard or read.
No, I believe it. If they were behind the original look of Sonic and then that movie Cats, dude, they freaking advertised the shit out of that movie, and it was so annoying. And again, some big names like Taylor Swift, Jason Derulo. They had freaking Idris Elba in there for some reason. Like, just
I really think it was just people. I really think it was just like somehow they had all this shit on these people. It's kind of like the whole concept with the movie. What was it? Movie one. Let's see here. 42, 43. Movie 43. Have you ever seen Movie 43?
I haven't.
It's like just like one of those spoof movies, but it's got a lot of big name actors and actresses, and it's kind of like everyone was just like, "Why did they do that movie?" Like it ends up like, just look it up. Apparently, I haven't seen it in a while. Gerard Butler plays a leprechaun in it. Hugh Jackman has like balls on his neck, and one of the little. It has Halle Berry in it, as Emma Stone, Kate Winslet. Like, it has all these big names, but it's just such a weird, like. So, like for example, one of the stories in the movie is about a kid who's homeschooled, and his parents want to give him the full high school experience, and it gets to like levels of uncomfortableness that are just like, what the fuck? Like, it's funny though. It has its funny moments. It's not for everybody, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Anyways, for Detective Pikachu, I felt like Detective Pikachu actually was pretty good when I saw it.
Yeah. I recently saw it. When did I see it? I think I saw it off of like Amazon or something. It was like cheaper than it usually is. So I was like, oh, I haven't seen that yet. And I like Ryan Reynolds, so I remember watching it. But I didn't really care for it a whole lot personally. I mean, I liked it. If it was anybody but Ryan Reynolds in it, I probably would have absolutely hated it. But just the charisma that Ryan Reynolds brings to his movies and his humor.
Oh, definitely. Like, yeah, I love Ryan Reynolds, and I think that's why it takes a lot for me to have a bad taste in my mouth about a movie when he's involved in it. He actually was just involved in another, like, it's not a direct video game movie, but he plays an NPC in a movie, I'm pretty sure. For people who want to talk about things, who want to sound informed, I feel pretty uninformed about a lot of things. Reynolds movies. All right. It is called Free Guy. That's what it is. Yeah, Free Guy. It just came out this year. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he like plays like an NPC who finds out he's an NPC. Something I wanted to check out, but yeah, no, and it's cool to see like that concept adapted. And it's like look at games like Ready Player One. Like there are ways video games can be the main focal point of a movie, and it can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just original, like, and that's actually based off a book. Ready Player One, I'm pretty sure is based off a book. So it's like. And I don't know, like there's certain games I would love to see made into movies. One of those that I will always full-heartedly want to see is God of War. I would love to see God of War rendered in a like because seeing the things I know they can do now with technology and like the Avengers movies and stuff like that. There's no reason God of War can't happen. Like, but I also am scared of because I know who owns the property. Obviously, it's going to go through Sony, and I didn't like a lot of the ways they handled movies. I'm a big Marvel buff. I'm sure this might catch a lot of flack from people. I didn't like Venom. I didn't think it was good. I thought it was stupid. It's not the way I would have portrayed it. But either way, so yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about them handling that property, but I'd love to see God of War made into a movie. And honestly, there's just so many other games that have the potential to be good movie source material. But here's another thing. There's these big, well-known gaming industries. They're also probably worried about jumping into movies because the history they've seen of it and because the fact they don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're making as much money as you are, why branch into another market and take a potential loss?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's honestly just them playing it safer than anything.
Yeah.
Like.
I guess that makes sense why you don't see like bigger name franchises in the gaming world take that leap into the film industry because they're well off with their video games that they make. Like I could see a company they've been seeing a decline and they're like copies sold and maybe it's kind of sputtering. So then they come out with a film to kind of re-jumpstart things. I could see that maybe, but yeah, I guess like you said, it doesn't make sense for a gaming industry that's doing or a game title that's doing well to jump into it and take a loss because these movies cost millions and millions of dollars to make, and if you have a bad box office, you lose money on that game, then that trickles into lose money on that movie, that trickles into your gaming, you lose funding for that. So it's just a domino effect. And that's the thing is, if it does well, cool, it does well. And then that's it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just another movie. There's thousands of movies out there that are made by developers that's what they do. It'd be like a movie. I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like a movie that we're like, okay, we're going to make a video game out of this. You know what I mean? It probably wouldn't do very well.
Mad Max. I don't think it did that great. They made a video game out of it. I can't remember the ratings. Maybe it has better ratings than I think, but I never played it.
Or even like Deadpool, or any Marvel movie. They're technically those are movies. Those are movies that are turned into games. And like I like the Spider-Man series. I haven't played the newest one just because I'm on Xbox and it's on PlayStation. But back in the day when I did have a PlayStation and I played like the earlier Spider-Man games, like I loved all those. I played.
They have definitely had a commercial success in it. Oh, and you gotta think about how big Marvel is. The Marvel comic books are one of the smartest industries to start up ever because they have such well-known brand recognition in the form of several hundred faces across so many different fields. Like I see Captain America's shield, I instantly know it's Captain America's shield. Like there's no dismissing that, and that's known. Like when you see Superman's like S, everyone knows Superman's S. There's these brand they have such good brand recognition. It's amazing, and that they have always had that funding. Now, like believe it or not, like we've discussed before, there were times where comic books struggled to see the giant they've become, and now they're owned by an even bigger giant, Disney, but. Yeah, no, Marvel's been a commercial success for the most part with video games. I've seen a couple fail, mainly in direct ties, for example, to their movies that fail, like X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game that came out for that movie was not that great, like rating-wise. Usually Marvel games get a better rating than, I believe that one didn't have the highest rating. I'll have to check. But, yeah, no, so they have done pretty well in terms of overall video games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. Their X-Men Apocalypse games on the PlayStation 2. Their old Spider-Man games, which I remember the awesome cheat codes. Big head mode was awesome. You could fly, make your guy small, the fat-ass head, and then you could actually, I think it was Spider-Man 2, you could be the Green Goblin, like with a cheat code. I don't know if it was a cheat code or part of the game, whatever, you could get it, and then you could make him big head mode, so just being like a little tiny green goblin with a fat ass head, like flying around on a glider. Couldn't beat that, man. But yeah, so all in all, it seems like there's that disconnect. And I think another issue why video games transitioning into the cinematic world is so hard. Think about when they choose to make movies. Like, when does it seem like they choose? It almost seems like they choose to make movies when they feel like they're losing that recognition. They're not getting the kind of respect they should. Like, I honestly thought, like, for example, Assassin's Creed. There was a time there where, like, I feel like Assassin's Creed was kind of dragging its heels. Obviously, they're still doing very well, but I feel like they're dragging their heels. That was right around the time the movie came out. So it's almost like, is that like definitely a thing they're doing specifically to try to jumpstart more recognition of their of themselves? So yeah, I don't know. I'd love to be able to sit down sometime and talk with like a video game designer and see like how they would feel about like the idea of adapting a video game to a movie and see what their take is on it, and then talk to people who work with cinematography. I know a couple people. I'll probably ask them some questions and just see what they know about, like, for example, what they would see as the biggest obstacle in converting a video game over to a movie. And I think that's a whole segment we could do later on once we get to where we need to be with something like that. Definitely, I'd love to have that this subject brought up again, because it is a very good subject that I feel like has been talked about for the last, I don't even know, like 20, 30, 40 years. Video games have been around, well, 20, 30 years. Well, I'm trying to think, when was the first video game movie? Do you know? It was probably in like the 70s or 80s, right? Or 80s.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to think of what it would have been. I'm trying to think of games at the. Well, you think of like GoldenEye 007. When would that have been? That would have been the 90s.
But technically,
that was a movie before.
I don't know why I said 80s. I meant 90s. Yes, 90s. Jeez, but yes, the first video game movie was Super Mario Bros. And
oh, really?
Yep. Yeah, it was the Super Mario Bros. Okay. All right. Cool.
What year did that come out?
1993, if I was correct. I just clicked off of it. So, yep, 1993.
Huh.
Horrible. I'm looking at this site right now saying ranked from least bad to absolute worst. I like they won't even call it good. They're just going to rank it from least bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was the 90s.
That's something that we'll have to dive into at some point. It'd be kind of interesting to see, like, maybe a video game creator, if we can get like a video game creator and somebody who knows a lot about film on here on the same episode, and just like let them spit ideas at each other and see like where their heads are going to butt and see why they don't work well together.
Totally one I completely spaced out. Tomb Raider. Those movies I actually liked. I enjoyed watching Tomb Raider movies and and then Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombats were kind of like, I enjoyed them, but they were crap. We all got to be honest with ourselves, but we got to think about the era it came out. They were crap though. Same with the Street Fighter. Like, I enjoyed watching them, but I didn't think they were that great. But yeah, no, definitely, I think Tomb Raider was awesome. I don't think it was, obviously, like, if I went back now and watch it, it's probably very cringy. But
there's older Tomb Raider movies. There's like two from like 2002 and 2003, and then there's one that recently came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you're thinking of the one with Alicia Vikander or whatever the fuck her last name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that. I didn't even care to see it because I just think like Angelina Jolie is she's my Laura Croft. Like and I'm sure like that's fine, but like that's like for other people if they want to go see it. I just never was interested in it. Like I lost interest in Laura Croft as I got older, but when I was a kid, I definitely enjoyed the games. I enjoyed the movies.
For sure.
Let's see what else is there. I want to see what they rank on this list as the worst.
Another title I want to kind of bring up, and it's had a lot of success, mostly due to its humor and its kind of spoofiness, is Halo's Red versus Blue series. I don't know if you've ever
Oh yeah, I love that. I loved watching them.
Yeah, how they were just like just goofy little short clips of just random bullshit, and like I said, it was mostly humorous, and and it was just like voiced over. It wasn't even like true TV show. It was literally just they would like record the Halo characters moving around and like act and then like voice over them and like make them move in a certain way to like make sense with how they're talking and what environment they're in. So it's like it's a very dumbed down way, but I mean I'd say it's still kind of ties into like the film industry just because they've made.
Well, if we're gonna jump into that category, we're opening a whole other can of worms, though. Because think about all the content that's been created that's on YouTube, where a lot of creators have just dubbed over their characters. Like technically, you could call Josh Dubs his VR videos. You could say that's a movie then because they act like they're characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or you
that's
could
true.
say the dude, I forgot what's his name, the one who likes playing like a lot of like the FPS shooter games and he acts like he's a real soldier.
Stone Mountain.
Yeah, Stone Mountain. Because could you can technically consider that a form? Because he literally plays his character like he is his character.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
don't
like,
know.
yeah, because then that's essentially what Red versus Blue does. They just created an overall storyline that they made it like they just made seem linear and work perfect. And it's like that's something I've actually thought is always fun to do. Like even I'll act stupid and I'll act like I'm messing around with my character in that level because it's fun. That's what games are. You're supposed to dissociate. You're supposed to enjoy them for what they are. And it's funny to imagine like. For example, when I watch Red versus Blue, I don't think of it as just a bunch of guys screwing around. I think about it as like, no, imagine if this actually happened in the Halo universe. How fucking hilarious would that be? Like,
Yeah.
you have all these. Imagine that because these guys are all like just goofy as hell, and it's like they're supposed to be these extreme trained Spartans, and they're just acting like fools. All right, let's see. I'm still looking down this list because they decided to make it stupid long and load very slow. I guess you could say Hitman was technically a video game movie, and I liked Hitman, and it didn't get a lot of people did not like it. I don't think I've seen the second one, but I saw the first one, I'm pretty sure. And I didn't hate it. What about you? Have you seen the Hitman movies?
I haven't. I played the games a little bit, but I feel like that's kind of my mindset though, where these movies like Warcraft, Hitman, I never saw like the Mortal Kombat movie. Basically all these movies that deviate from games that I never played. I don't know if like maybe I'd appreciate them more than someone who has played it. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
if somebody plays that game and then they're like, "Oh, there's a movie coming out about it," they're gonna have all these expectations of, "Oh, are they gonna stick to the storyline? Are they gonna implement these characters that I want them to have?" And then if they don't meet that expectation, obviously that person isn't gonna like that movie. But if I go in blindly, I don't know any of the characters, I don't know the storyline, and I just watch it as a person just looking to kill some time and watch a movie, maybe I would, I guess, enjoy those movies more than those other people.
Oh yeah, and then as I was looking through this list, totally just remember like this one just made me like holy crap, totally forgot about that. So Need for Speed came out with a movie in 2014. Completely flopped, I'm pretty sure. I mean, usually have a good radar on if a movie does well or not, and I don't think that did too well. And that had Aaron Paul in it. And Aaron Paul, yeah, like he's not the biggest name actor in the world, but he's a good actor. Like he killed it in Breaking Bad. And
I feel like Need for Speed, people are going to compare it to Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. Well, yeah, and exactly, because like it's kind of like they kind of monopolized on driving movies. I'd say the only movie I've seen that held any kind of uniqueness to it within the driving realm is Death Race, outside of Fast and the Furious. And Fast and the Furious kind of devolved into this Saints Row nonsense of suspend your belief of what is happening here. Or I guess you could say it's actually probably more on par with GTA's extreme level because it hasn't gone quite far to the Saints Row level. But I feel like that's where Fast and the Furious is heading. Oh, yeah, and they did make a Prince of Persia movie as well.
Yeah, I think that was a problem with Fast and the Furious is like obviously the franchise was very successful, so they had the funds, they had the community to back them up to keep making movies. But at the same time, they deviated. If you watch, like, for me, it fell off after, like, Tokyo Drift, which was the third one, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Fast and Furious,
Pretty
Too
sure.
Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift, and then Fast. I'm trying to think of what the fourth one was. There's Fast Five. Was there like 7 or 8 of them now? Like the fact that it's just like it's so
Yeah.
in my head. I just completely gave up on the like. I loved like I remember having diecast cars when I was little of Brian's car, like that green. Shoot, what was it? A Subaru? Not a Subaru. A Nissan. Fuck. I could picture the car. I just can't think of the name of the car. But I remember like watching that movie as a kid and just loving those movies. And then even like getting into like that high school age of when they were still coming out with those movies, and at that time they were into like probably 4, 5, and 6. They completely dropped off for me just because of the fact that they're implementing side stories, bringing in new characters, and just like I don't know. It was just one of those franchises that even though they keep making movies, I don't. I can't see how they continue to have success. Like they have to notice that they're starting to go down, but yet they still keep coming out with them. So where they have the means and the funding and the support to keep doing it, I don't know. But also, if you have millions of dollars to make these movies and you don't really care and you just keep dishing them out, and people keep going to the box office and you keep making your millions off of them, then they don't really care.
So, as I was looking at that list, I'm just gonna read something to you, just out of like, because this is a movie. You know that one game I showed you, Postal 2?
Yep.
So I've never played the first Postal, but they made a movie based off of it. I'm gonna read the plot of the first Postal. You kind of saw what the other one's about. It's a very vulgar, offensive game, whatever. But this is kind of like, I think, a really good visual aspect, or more of just a listening aspect to help you understand why video game movies, that there's such a bad divide. But anyways, the plot for the original Postal, the video game, is this. The game follows a man who has been evicted from his home. He believes that the United States Air Force is releasing poison gas in his town, and only he is unaffected. He fights his way to the Air Force Base through various areas. During the progress of the game, a voice in the protagonist's head can be heard taunting his victims. After massacring the Air Force Base, he is then shown trying to massacre an elementary school. However, his weapons have no effect. He then has a mental breakdown and wakes up to find himself, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to give away too spoiler. Fuck it. It's our spoilers. This game's been out since the 90s, I'm pretty sure. So... and wakes up to find himself in a mental asylum. The doctor gives a report on the protagonist's mental state, suggesting that the stress of urban life may have caused him to go postal. And then it just like kind of pans on his face, whatever. And then it talks about saying, whatever, that's the game. The movie. The film begins with a prologue showing Asif and Nabi, a fictional portrayal of two of the Flight 11 hijackers during the 9/11 attacks. Mind you, this came out in 2007 when obviously things were still pretty, like 9/11 just got kind of okay to make jokes about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or to but debating. So the film begins with a prologue showing Asif and Nabi, a fictional portrayal of two of the Flight 11 hijackers during the 9/11 attacks, debating the number of virgins they get as a reward for carrying out the attacks. After a long debate, they decide to call Osama bin Laden, their leader, to find out the exact amount. Osama tells them that there are not enough virgins to go around. And upon hearing this, the two hijackers, as I'm just to put up, as I'm reading this, my brain is just like, what is going on?
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, anyways, the two hijackers abandon the attack in dismay and happily change their flight path to the Bahamas. At this moment, however, the passengers of the plane storm the cockpit and attempt to retake the plane. This was based on what happened on Flight 93 when one of the other hijacked aircrafts during 9/11. In the struggle, the terrorists try and reason with the passengers, but to no avail, and ultimately the plane inadvertently flies into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. 5 years later, in the town of Paradise, Arizona, where the volatile postal dude, after being mocked at a job interview, kicked out of his local unemployment office, and discovering that his morbidly obese wife is cheating on him with various and skinny townsmen, is more than a little angry and is desperate to get enough cash to finally leave his dead-end town. He decides to team up with his Uncle Dave, but it just gets more, as you can tell, like just off the introduction of this movie alone.
It sounds
Like,
fucked.
like read this plot because it just it's a weird movie. I might watch this honestly. I might just watch this just to do a reaction on it, just because it sounds. This is kind of a movie I'd love to sit down with friends and just all watch together and get drunk. Because
Yeah. That
sounds
like the only appropriate way to watch a movie like that.
honestly, it's just like holy shit. But yeah, I'll read more on that. And I want to watch that, so I'll let you know how that goes. But yeah, no, overall, and it just I blame not just the fear of failing, which I don't blame these companies. If you already have a successful business model, okay, I won't say that because like fuck that, like that's saying don't be innovative. Continue to be innovative, but it's also okay to be secure once you feel secure. So I understand why they don't want to take those jumps, or maybe it doesn't feel like the right time. Who knows? Maybe there could be several video game movies in production right now, but because of the virus, everything's slowed down, and technology wasn't where it needed to be in the '90s. That's for damn sure. Technology has just now finally hit that peak where, like, dude, we could. I don't know. Things are getting insane with technology, and I love it. But I also, you know where I'm at.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of it has to do in part, and I think that's like the one upside to COVID-19 is how it's forcing this country to speed up their process of going through with like technology side of things. Like me for work, like working with Aflac and being an agent, we're like the whole virtual thing for the first couple months that I had worked there, like it was like, yeah, whatever, it's an option. And now that's like the main focus. And like we just had like a meeting recently where they're like, yeah, it's like this is like the one good thing that's come out of COVID is all the stuff that we're doing now, we're looking at rolling out like 3 to 5 years in the future. But this has basically forced us to jumpstart those things and get them out to everyone sooner. And I'm sure that there's so many other industries that can say the same thing, where because they're unable to have that person-to-person interaction, it's forced them to put their time and effort into virtual, more technological things. So,
oh, definitty, and
which makes
like,
me wonder, as far as like the whole movies thing, with there haven't really been any movies that have come out this year. They basically halted production. And it makes you think, like, why? With how CGI and animation and all that is so prevalent now in every movie, why can't they just, like, or how come they can't just make movies like that? You know what I mean?
well, this is the thing, because they're not generating the revenue they want. They are still releasing, like the ones they already had pre-slated for release in 20, like Free Guy, the one I mentioned with Ryan Reynolds, came out on Amazon. I think that's where a lot of them are releasing, is on Amazon Prime.
There's a new Borat movie coming out.
Yep, and yeah, that comes out on Amazon. I'm gonna be watching it.
Oh
so.
yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing. Like, yeah, no, it's good that there are movies coming out, but I also understand the restraints with everything going on. I don't want to get political about the virus. I'm just ready for society to get back to what it was, for the most part. I understand the only one who can help us at this point is ourselves, but we also can't stall moving forward in society. Like, look at what's happening. Like, look at these businesses like Amazon. They are only getting richer.
Oh yeah.
Look at all the smallness. All these businesses that survived the virus are going to come up so much more successful on the other side, because a lot of these small businesses are getting destroyed, which is unfortunate. Very unfortunate, but it's creating sort of this vacuum for essentially, like, this is a time to start a business. If you know what you want to do, you have the funding. If you know it's going to take a bit to get ready, yeah, I'd start it. I'd just dive in, and then people would be like, "Oh, well, what about the virus?" It's like, well, create a business that doesn't be impacted. Like, I know people who are doing very well right now, just because of everything going on. There's people the money doesn't stop flowing. So
Oh yeah, some of the businesses I talked to, they're like, we're crazy busy. They're like, this is the busiest we've been in 10, 20 years. Some of I talked to, like, I've owned this business for 30, 40 years, and this year's been the craziest year we've ever had. So it's like you said, there are some of those industries where they're thriving right now off of this, and obviously, like you said, some of the ones that have died off. It's obviously unfortunate, but at the same time, it gives them the opportunity to either start a new business or revamp their business to adapt through a crisis like this. So obviously, as bad as it is, it's eye-opening for a lot of people. It's causing people to reevaluate their lives, their businesses, their financial situations, their, like, everything. It's forcing everybody to take a step back and realize where they're at. So as much as this year sucked, it's kind of been a blessing in disguise in some cases.
Well, honestly, some of the best moments I have are when I forget there's a virus going on. The days where I forget, like, if I can tell I'm having, like, things are starting to feel normal in some moments. When I forget, like, to grab my mask and someone reminds me, it's like, oh yeah, it sucks. Yes, it sucks right now, but if you keep yourself entertained, you keep yourself busy, we'll all get through this together. And I know this could be one of our shorter episodes, but I think we kind of covered our bases. I think we covered most of what we were aiming to talk about. And I also know a lot of the content we're releasing in the next couple of weeks is going to be pretty packed full. So
yeah, I'm excited for the next, like,
2 weeks,
dude. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. And go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, you mentioned that this episode is getting near an hour. So I mean, we've been talking for a while. So
yeah, exactly. I guess I just feel like I usually can continue a subject, but I just feel like with this one, it kind of speaks for itself. I think a lot of you guys who are tuning in already know video game movie is kind of a very controversial subject area because it's just very hard to do, or the question of it, should it be done? It's like, should it? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, no, with that, I think we have a lot of fun stuff to bring to you guys in the next, like me and Collin were saying, in the next couple of weeks, and look forward to you tuning in. So with that, signing off.
All right, see you, man.